World's oldest and greatest sport can do for you. It teaches you a lot of life lessons.
Yeah, absolutely. And Leon he was so dominant. He came out there and just really had the upper hand, the strength advantage from start to finish, and this the most dominating victory we've seen so far tonight.
So we're going to go to 165 pounds, representing Reinhardt University, the #1 seed, redshirt junior Justin George. He himself has had a tremendous tournament, but this guy is dangerous, and I'm telling you what, you better watch out in the first minute and a half. We're speaking about Brennan Swafford right in your TV monitor. The sophomore out of Minneapolis, Iowa, representing Graceland University.
Yeah, George, this is the 1 versus 2 matchup, not only seeds but also rankings. And George at 157 pounds, so he comes up a weight class. He was 3rd at Nationals 1 year ago. Meanwhile, Swafford, 7th place last year at this weight class. As we take a look at it, close victories for both of them in the semifinals as it went scratch. So 1 versus 4 in the semifinals, 2 versus 3. Swafford with 3-point advantage. So we've got the top 2 guys on the raised mat.
It's been an enjoyable night so far, and I'm only presuming that the rest of the evening will be equally as good. Our matchup at 165 will be officiated by Travis Sheely out of Salina, Kansas. He's assisted by Mr. Lester McFall out of Eagle Point, Oregon.
That's the thing that we announce at all different levels, and what I love about NAIA is that in the finals these guys open up. I mean, they you know, you see at some levels where guys are a little more conservative when they get to the championship match. Not the case. It seems every single match, you know, the guys are bringing it, and they're gonna put on, you know, top level show. That's what you should see in the championship bout.
Like we've seen in the match prior with Ronaldo Rodriguez Spencer, this young man out of Graceland, pretty dangerous in the cradle positions. He really turns it on from the near side cradle position. He has struck on several different opponents in the tournament. So that's the one thing that George will have to be very careful in this title matchup at 165. Swafford is in the all-white singlet with yellow trim. George, the #1 seed, representing Reinhardt, in the gold singlet with the trim on the backside right there. And we'll have a brief stalemate call.
Yeah, George, in the Appalachian Conference Championship title match, he beat his teammate, Cole Tenety, just a couple weeks ago, and then Swafford.
He was 194-22 in his career high school.
Just an All-American last year.
So George's going to dive in there just briefly.
He's Graceland's freshman male athlete of the year.
Swafford is defending, trying to go to near ankle, but putting a lot of pressure initially in a front headlock series. Likes to scramble around his Brennan Swafford, and we've got another stalemate call.
Swafford, he beat Giovanni Bonilla of Grandview 2 times in a row at the Heart of America Conference Championships, and then what we saw in the bracket semifinals this morning.
No score as we near the 1-minute mark of our first period.
So after starting off the tournament with 2 major decisions, Justin George had to have 2 tiebreakers. 6-4 against Kyle Caldwell of Grandview. And then, or actually, I'm sorry, 6-4 over Ole of Life. And then it was Caldwell in the semifinals, 3-2 in the first tiebreaker.
Down inside 30 seconds we go of our first period. Without question, both of these guys a little bit gun shy. Waiting for the other guy maybe to make some type of error, but Swafford tried to go to a elbow pass, wrestling on the edge, then go out of bounds. But one thing Swafford did nice there, and that was he knew where he was at, so he got in there, snapped down, and went behind Justin George. Fortunately for George, they were beyond the out-of-bounds line.
Yeah, never be tentative or assume, oh, we're near the out-of-bounds line, and you have to protect yourself at all times. Like you said, nice flurry there.
Scoreless after the first 3 minutes. Flip of the red-green coin by Mr. Travis Sheely. And Justin George will elect to go down to begin the second period. Well, this is our second year together. Our second year just as good as our first. This level, some pretty good wrestling.
Absolutely. And like you say, first period, these guys were tentative. Now let's see what happens as far as how George works on the bottom, but Swafford riding tough here with that tiger ride.
Really got that left wrist. I think he initially wanted to maybe go to a head lever, did Brennan Swafford.
Yeah, now he's rolling wrists.
Comes from tradition-rich Mediapolis. Boy, they've got some outstanding high school wrestling. And he's not letting George up for a second. Going to keep him down as they wrestle near the out-of-bounds sector.
That ride is all based around the wrist. So he goes to that tiger ride, and he's going to roll wrist. He'll go cross wrist. That's why you do, this wrist strengthening exercises, so you're able to control on top like this as he goes to the armbar.
And this is where he's really good. We'll see if he is able to turn George, try to maybe cuff up that right side, that shoulder, Todd?
Yep. And then he had that strap ride on the right side almost to a half.
George really struggling now from the bottom position, and reason for that, a lot of pressure being asserted by the Graceland grappler. Got a bar arm on that left side.
Now, the difference between college, you can ride more parallel with the hips than in high school, which is what Swafford is doing. But still, he's putting all that force down on it. It's just hard for George to get his knees kind of, army crawl back to his knees and get working.
Let me ask you this, as a former coach, how much starch is this taking out of the guy on the bottom and Justin George?
It really does, because you always want to be on your base. When you're down on your stomach, you're using so much energy to not only make sure that you're not going to get turned, but also to try to build back up to your base.
They're going to say a locked hands calls on Swafford. And although it is a point, if Swafford is able to ride him out here, really, he does need to get out in the third period. He'd still be ahead by a point, but right now he trails it 1-0. And a good job by George. And good wrestling by Swafford to keep him down for the moment. How about this?
Yeah, he drapes over him. 50-50 position here.
Wow, that's just some good wrestling on behalf of Swafford.
Yep.
So 1-0 on the scoreboard in favor of Justin George, courtesy of a locked hands call. Guilty party, Brennan Swafford, and Swafford's choice. Now he'll go down for the final 2 minutes, and he has to get out technically within the first minute.
Yep. And George on that last reset, you're talking about bringing your hand up to get that hand free from the sit-out position. He brought his hand back. We talk about a back pocket stand-up where it looks like you're reaching to get your wallet. They can't chop your arm and you can bring it up. And it almost worked for George. Great effort on that reset. Let's see how he is in the top position.
So we're in the third, and it now is a 1-1 score between Brennan Swafford, the sophomore for Graceland.
Good stand up by Swafford. I think it was one of those things, just George just got a little bit out of position when he was trying to correct, and that gave an opportunity, an opening for Swafford to stand up and collect the one.
Swafford, the sophomore, George, the redshirt junior, representing Reinhardt University. So 1-1 on your monitor. However, please keep in mind that Swafford does have 1:41 of riding time, and just as I say that, he's in on the legs of Justin George.
Yeah, counter shot there as George came up, opening for Swafford to get in there.
Scramble mode near the out-of-bounds sector.
Remember, even just a little toe or shoelace, basically, as long as something's in bounds, Swafford's still going to work. He needs to try to get George a little bit back in, but he's got plenty of space to work with.
And I think if you're George, you try to get
that's
out of bounds, and that's not a situation if you're George. that you wanted to happen, you probably would have been better shot to get out of bounds.
To get out of bounds.
Yeah.
I think he thought, I'm going to turn back in and I can kick away and face him. But once he turned, then Swafford stepped up, had too deep of control there.
And the Graceland fans right in front of us, they're sensing it. That's, we talk about the mark of a champion is how do guys wrestle in difficult situations? Well, Brennan Swafford, wrestling beyond the out-of-bounds line, just secured himself his first national title because there's no coming back from this with 5 seconds to go. In essence, a 3-2 score put a riding time point on the board. Congratulations, Brennan Swafford, a 2020 national champion at the NAIA level. Final score, 4-2.
This is the third number 1 seed tonight to get knocked off in the championship match. Swafford, it was just very simple. I'm going to ride tough, I'm going to smother you, and it takes a lot of gas out of a guy's tank, and then it opens up that opportunity. He gets that late takedown, and that seals the deal.
Grittiness, toughness, never panic, and wrestled on the edge. How many times have we talked about that tonight?
Yep.
That was the difference, scoring late. And it proved to be the difference with the riding time point. The sophomore from Graceland is your national champion, representing Graceland University at 165 pounds. With that being said, we're going to pay tribute to All-American Award, 65 pounds.
And now, ladies and gentlemen, your All-Americans at 165 pounds. In 8th place, from Northwestern, All-American Andrew Knoll. In 7th place, from Embry-Riddle, All-American Taylor Owens. In 6th place, from Grandview, All-American Giovanni Bonilla. In 5th place, from Missouri Valley, All-American Elias Bawicki. In 4th place, from Baker, All-American Isaiah Llewellyn. In 3rd place, from Grandview, All-American Kyle Caldwell. Your runner-up at 165 pounds, from Reinhardt, All-American Justin George. And your 165-pound national champion from Graceland, Brennan Swafford.
Graceland University individual champion at 165, Brennan Swafford. Well, 3 matches remain. Your thoughts to this point, Todd Schumacher?
I'll tell you what, we saw